Welcome to another program in our series, Moments with the Master. We've been looking at moments in the life of Jesus of Nazareth in which he and his apostles became so closely bound together. The apostles became so firmly convinced that Jesus was the Son of God through their observations and interactions with him that they were all willing to even die defending his cause and his name. In John chapter 4, we looked at the story of Jesus arriving at Jacob's well as they were going back to Galilee by way of Samaria. He had a wonderful conversation with the woman at the well in which she became convinced he was the promised Messiah. The disciples returned, for they had gone into the village to buy food, and this woman left Jesus, went into the village to tell everyone that she'd met the Messiah, and soon the Samaritan village would be turning out to meet Jesus themselves. But the disciples came returning with the food that they had purchased in the village. And so in verse 31 of John chapter 4, it says, "In the meanwhile, while his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat, that he said unto them, I have meat to eat that you know not of." This puzzled them. When they left Jesus, he was very tired, it says, and now he seems to be rejuvenated. He seems to be pretty fired up, because Jesus knows what's coming, that there will soon be a crowd arriving that wants to listen to him and learn all that they can about the promised Messiah. And Jesus goes on to tell his disciples, "Therefore said the disciples to one another, Hath any man brought him aught to eat? Is he now perked up and rejuvenated because he's had something?" But Jesus said to them, "My meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work." Jesus was fired up about doing spiritual things and fulfilling the will of his Father, and so should we. We should not look at the idea of worshiping with the saints as a chore, that I've got to go to church, but rather instead I get to go to church. I'm going to find spiritual nourishment in worshiping God and learning of his will. My spiritual man is going to be strengthened by the things that I hear, and I will be able to go forth into the world, as the apostles later did, and be able to tell others about the Jesus that I love. We, like the Master, should understand that our job is to fulfill the will of the Father, to preach the gospel to every creature, to have an enthusiasm about spiritual things. The apostles began to see this rejuvenating spirit that Jesus had as he became somewhat animated with the idea of teaching others and discussing spiritual things. It overcame fatigue. It overcame the drudgery of this life. It took us to a higher level of functioning. Our will should be to do the will of the Father. And we hope that you will assemble soon with the Church of Christ in your area, that you might be able to learn more about how you can find this rejuvenation and be fortified in doing the Father's will.